Hello, it is Spilling the Green Beans time again. Welcome to episode 19 of Spilling the Green Beans, my weekly live gardening show where I share with you my green secrets to inspire you to start growing your own vegetables. I am your host, Emily, creator of Easy Urban Gardening, the system for growing your own vegetables on a balcony or terrace in town. Thank you for spending time with me today when I talk about summer vegetables. And especially for the summer vegetables, we were able to move outside again. It is still a little bit cloudy, but temperatures are up. Yesterday was horrible here. It was absolutely raining. I mean, it was pouring. It was raining cats and dogs. But today it is a lot more pleasant outdoors. So to share with you my green secrets, the most crucial techniques to make gardening actually fun and easy. It doesn't need to be daunting and hard work. In this show, you also learn how to take advantage of the broad health benefits of gardening and how to cook delicious meals with your own vegetables. I am spilling the green beans. Before I really dive into today's episode, I want to tell you about my new project. For the next 3.5 months, the town Zug, where I live in Switzerland, will get a very cool pop-up deli. Together with 20 other female entrepreneurs in town, all in the gourmet, wellness, art, or design industry, we are in the old town to serve fresh, delicious takeaway foods like picnic baskets to take to the lake, or lunch salads, soups, meals, pastries, and more. And I am, of course, participating by having a garden at the location with all sorts of fresh herbs and edible flowers, plus delivering fresh veggies from my own garden for the chefs to use. So I also am very, very excited because I'm also allowed to kind of like share my knowledge about food, ingredients, flavor combinations, and spices to inspire the chefs to try new things. And if you are in Zug or near Zug, or maybe traveling in Switzerland this summer, make sure to hop by and indulge yourself in some big city deli treats like lemon meringue, New York bagels, London-style sandwiches, and real Parisian chouquettes. So that is really exciting. We will be opening next week. So still a few very busy days to come with designing, painting, putting everything together. But yeah, really exciting. But for now, it's back to the garden. Last week, I spoke about lettuce, and today we talk about summer vegetables. How to best bring them from indoors to their outdoors place, plus what is pruning and how you do that. So first things first, your summer veggies have been growing indoors for quite some weeks now. And as you can imagine, that is kind of like an extremely protected environment. There is no direct sunlight, there is no wind, no real temperature changes, nothing. So before you can plant them in your garden, you have to kind of prepare them for the outdoors life. And you do that by hardening them. It's called like that. You kind of like train them to get used to the outdoor circumstances. And half May is the ideal time to start this process, as long as temperatures, wherever you live, are during the day around 18 degrees Celsius, which is about 65 Fahrenheit. And it is also best to check whether the nighttime temperatures in the 5-6 days coming will stay about 10 degrees or 50 Fahrenheit. So now let me explain the process, which is actually quite easy. On day one, so which for me will be this weekend. So normally you try to schedule day one on or around the 15th of May because in most areas, especially in Europe, but in a lot of areas, that's kind of like where the chance of night frost is really dropping. So on day one, you take your seedlings outside at around midday for 1 hour. You put them in a relatively protected spot, so still no direct sunlight and not too windy. So maybe, just have them a little bit guarded. And after that, you take them back indoors. Then on day 2, you take them outside again for 2 hours, preferably in the afternoon, or you take them out around midday and then they stay until 2 p.m. and still on that protected spot that you picked the day before. And afterwards, they go back indoors. Then on day 3, they can go outside for 3 hours on a little bit more exposed spot. So maybe with some filtered sunlight and a bit more in the open, but not like really in the wind, and back indoors afterwards. And by now, you might want to preferably put them in a light but unheated room indoors. So give them also, that is also a part of the hardening, to keep them already a bit cooler overnight instead of in your nice and cozy warm lounge. Then on day 4, they can stay out for the whole afternoon. And then on the same spot as on day 3. So a little bit exposed, but not fully exposed. And then say from noon till roughly 4 p.m., something like that. And then back again in the preferably cool room for the night. On day 5, they can go outdoors for the whole day. So say you put them outdoors around 10 a.m. and then until 6 p.m. When you're absolutely sure the temperatures on day 5, the night temperatures, won't drop below that 10 degrees Celsius or 50 Fahrenheit, you can even leave them outdoors for the night, but then move them like close to the house wall, or make them really kind of like in a protected area and make absolutely sure that it won't be too cold outdoors. And then on day 6 or maybe on 7, if when the daytime temperatures are around 18 degrees and it's not like raining cats and dogs, you can finally plant them in the garden. So if day 6 is a horrible, windy, rainy day, you kind of like leave them in that more protected area, maybe a little bit under the roof, that they don't have the full rain. You don't have to move them indoors, but still make sure that they're not completely exposed to all the weather elements. And then you might want to wait until day 7 or maybe even day 8 before you really put them out and about in the garden. But if weather plays along, as of day 6, you can go and put them in your garden. So for that, you make a hole the size of the pot your seedlings are in. You fill that hole in your garden with water, and then you put your plant in the hole and close it. So you have to make sure here that the plant is firmly placed in your garden, but still avoid really pushing the soil hard. As you also now, you want to prevent it from becoming too dense and compact, because you still want your seedling, or actually the root system of your seedling, have an easy job in expanding. And when you kind of like really press the soil around that still really, really tiny root system, you just make life hard on them, which is first of all not necessary, and second of all, of course, it will kind of like slow down the growing. And please make sure when you have tomato seedlings and you plant them in your garden, plant them as deep as possible. Best is with the lowest leaf, only just above the ground. And that's only for tomatoes, but they have, if you look at your little tomato plant, you can see kind of like tiny little hairs around the stem. And those little hairs are all future roots. So if you plant it deep, you have more of the plant that will actually make roots. And so you kind of like stimulate a bigger root system. So that's only for tomatoes. Okay. Now your summer veggies are in your garden and now they will start growing quickly. Definitely if temperatures are nice up, they will grow big because, I mean, all of them are relatively big plants. I mean, they almost all count as extra large plants within the Easy Urban Gardening system. So we can expect them to grow big. And therefore, almost all summer vegetables are plants that need some pruning during the season. Especially tomatoes are famous for needing a lot of attention and pruning during the season. But you might ask yourself, what is pruning and how do I do that? Well, first, pruning is the selective removal of certain plant parts. And for tomatoes, this means very regular removal of so-called suckers. Yes, that's exactly what they are. It's not like a bad word or something unnice. It is actually really what they are. Because ideally, your tomato plant has one main stem and then side branches for the leaves and the flowers. But to realize this ideal tomato plant, you have to pay close attention to your plant over the season because it tends to make a side shoot in every single elbow formed by the main stem and the side branch. So where my fingers touch my arm, that is kind of like the elbow that I'm talking about. And in there, exactly like in that little corner, your tomato plant will create side shoots. And these side shoots, can, when they are left alone, grow as big as the original plant. Yes, exactly. They grow as big as the original plant. So you can imagine if you have a main stem and you have like 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these regular side branches, like legal side branches. And in every little elbow, there comes a side shoot that grows as big as the plant. Your plant can actually end up growing 2, 3 times or even 4 times bigger than intended. And that costs a lot of energy. And energy can't be spent twice. So the plant has to choose where to spend its energy. And unfortunately, it will mainly choose spending energy on growing big over spending energy on producing fruits. So to realize the big yields we are aiming for, you have to keep your tomato plant in check. And that is what is pruning. You are going to remove those specific plant parts. Yes, you are going to remove those suckers. How? By kind of like weekly remove every side shoot that you can find. As long as they are small, they are easy recognizable because you still have the overview of the main stem, the side branch, and then the tiny little thingy that is coming out. If you don't do it regular, you will lose track because then all of a sudden it becomes very hard to distinguish the, so to say, legal side branch from the illegal side branch. So make sure you do it regularly and catch them when they're small. And then you just take them between your thumb and index finger and you kind of like break them away. They will actually let loose really, really easily. So the good thing, we talked about the tomato, and the tomato is the most labor-intensive summer vegetable in your garden. Easy. So the others are a lot more easy because although the other vegetable plants are also prone to pruning, and then I'm mainly talking about the fruit family. So that's the red family in our system. See, zucchini, pumpkins, and cucumber. Those are the 3 most important ones. Pumpkins/squash. All of them. Zucchini and pumpkins and squash, they just make an awful lot of leaves. So the pruning in this case is removal of a part of those leaves. And you can do that up to 1/3 of the total amount of leaves, or until half of all the leaves. Yes, you can actually remove that many leaves without harming the plant. Of course, it's not necessary to remove that many leaves, but you have to make sure that you remove the leaves that overshadow the neighboring squares to make sure all your patches get enough sunlight. So besides removing ugly looking leaves, which we always do, you will take away a lot of those big leaves. I mean, a zucchini leaf is easy like that big. So you can imagine if you have your zucchini growing up along the trellis and you have all these huge leaves hanging around, most of your vegetable garden, most of your raised bed will actually then be in the shadow for quite some while during the day. So you want to prevent that. So just take away the big leaves that are overshadowing the rest of your garden. And then finally, the cucumber is a little bit different. You also might want to remove parts of the leaves. Same goes up to 1/3, between 1/3 and up to half of all the leaves you can easily remove without any harm. But the cucumber, it actually grows the fruits on the side shoots. So you do need those side shoots, but again, it tends to spend a lot of energy making these shoots as big as possible. And that we don't want, because it's kind of like a waste of energy again. So it's best to prune every side shoot back until after the second fruit. So you have the main stem and you have the side shoot that you will guide on your trellis. Try to kind of guide it as horizontal as possible. Just it's easy to see and to keep an overview. So you have the main stem, and then you go sideways on the side shoot, and then counted from the main stem, you have 2 tiny cucumbers, or the female flowers, which are the flowers that are on top of the fruit. First little shape of a cucumber with on top of a flower. That's where the cucumber will grow. So you count 1, 2, and then you cut it back. And in that way, you actually stimulate the plant to kind of manage and divide its energy over all the vegetables, and not only the first few, but after it goes then spend the energy on growing those side shoots. So the cucumber, you prune back the side shoots, but you don't take them away completely like with the tomato, because then you would end up with no cucumbers. That's not the idea. Then finally, a few words about the pepper plant. Peppers, either sweet or spicy, doesn't really matter. Pepper plants don't really need pruning. But when you are looking at your pepper plant and you think, whoa, it's only growing in height without really forming flowers to the sides, you can then kind of cut the top. Again, you kind of stop the energy flow in growing upwards, and then you guide or you channel the energy going sidewards where the flowers are. And of course, where flowers are is where your fruits or your vegetables or your fruits will appear. So tomatoes, very labor intensive, but worth the work. Keep a regular eye, weekly or twice weekly, on your plant, and remove those suckers, those side shoots that are in the elbow between the stem and the normal official side branch. Then zucchini, pumpkin, squash, remove the big leaves. Make sure they don't overshadow your garden. And then the cucumbers, the side shoots back to 2, maximum 3 cucumbers per side branch. And also when necessary, removing leaves. And then finally, the peppers only when necessary. If you think this is not going to give me too much flowers, or it feels like my plant is wasting its energy on growing instead of on producing fruits. So that's all about your summer vegetables and pruning them. So now you are fully prepared to tackle the tomato jungle and keep your other summer veggies in check. to realize the biggest possible yields. Yay! So thank you for spending time with me in the garden, and I hope to meet you in your garden soon. Share, become a part of our club. There is an Easy Urban Gardening Facebook group where you can share your pictures, your experiences. You can ask questions to the rest of our community or me. I'm in there as well. I'm regularly active answering questions. Of course, also posting my own pictures of my garden. And it would be really, really cool to see you there too. So it's the Emily's Easy Urban Gardening Facebook group. It would be great to welcome you there. And for now, did you enjoy this episode of Spilling the Green Beans? Then please share, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and give a review so more people can enjoy the show. I see you in next week's episode, which is then about the summer sowing plan. So we're going to have a little look in, okay, which vegetables can be sown at the height of the summer, which might we want to avoid, and maybe even have a look or relook at your initial plan and make necessary adjustments if needed. So I see you next week. Enjoy the holiday weekend if it is one where you live. We are going to have one here in Switzerland. It's a holiday tomorrow, and it looks like it's going to be beautiful weather in most parts of Europe. So go out and about in your garden and come in the Facebook group if you aren't yet. Share what you are doing. I'm really, really curious to see. See you next week. Bye.